All right, give it up one more time. Please do so. Yes. That was great. All right. So finally, our keynote speaker today is Aurora Higgs. She graduated from VCU in 2019 with her master's in educational leadership and administration. Aurora is a visionary and activist from Richmond, Virginia, and uses their platform to promote justice and equity. Please give it up for Aurora.
Good evening, VCU, and good evening, graduates. Good. How are you all? Good. I hope you feel good because you deserve to feel good. This is a huge accomplishment. I don't think I have to tell you that there are many of us in our community who never make it to institutions of higher education, let alone get to graduate. And so I want you all to think about yourselves in the utmost pride, because this is a huge step and you're going to move on to bigger and better things, I promise you. I think that no matter what you end up doing, especially if you leave here and you just go on to live your dreams, or you go on to have a safe and healthy life, that's huge, huge. I also want to just take a moment of silence to recognize that there are many people who should have been able to be here, whether they, for whatever reason, they never made it to this institution or made it to any other institution to further their education, or maybe it's because they were taken from this world before their time. And just in recognition of all of the beauty of our community, and just recognizing that there are, again, so many people that should be here that are not, just want to take that second. And I also want to recognize that you all are here. You made it. And when I say made it, you woke up today. Do you know that there's so many people, especially people who look like me in this world, Black, trans, queer, effeminate, unapologetic, who are criminalized, vilified just for being themselves? But you're here. You made it. And it doesn't matter how long you have left or how long any of us have left. Every single day that we're here is another opportunity to do big things. And that big thing can just be doing whatever it is that makes you happy. So my name is Aurora Higgs. My pronouns are she, her, and they, them. I am an alumna of VCU myself. I graduated with my bachelor's in 2014. I was a refugee of the College of William & Mary. I lasted 3 months. Nothing against William & Mary, it just was not a fit for me. And as soon as I get, people are laughing. Yeah, it's okay. They didn't want me, it's fine. William & Mary is a great place, and I'm so thankful for the fact that I had the experiences there, and I know so many people who have found affirmation there. And it wasn't until I came to VCU that I found affirmation, that I found that there was a place where I could be. I could show up in the wildest outfits I could think of and still be outshone by 4 or 5 other people in any given block. And I loved that. I absolutely loved being here. I loved the way that I got to sprout as a young queerling here. When I first started at VCU, I identified as a gay man, and it was here that I was put on my very first panel. Shout out to Alumni Services, because little do they know, it was in 2010, 2011 that they put me on a panel over at the Art Depot called Queer in Your Career. I had never been on a panel before. I'd never really spoken publicly like that before. And cut to today, I'm not great at math, 11, 12 years later, speaking is what I do for a majority of my work. And I now know that I have a voice that matters to people. And it doesn't have to matter to everyone, as long as it matters to the people that it matters to, as long as that there are people who take something from what I'm saying, see themselves in me, or see that, hey, if Aurora, a black trans femme from the former capital of the Confederacy, can do this, maybe there's hope for me too. And I promise you that there is. Just because I'm not special, I mean, I am. We're all special. I wake up telling myself that I'm special, but no more special than any of you here or anyone else. And so if I'm up here living my dreams, then I'm going to make it my personal mission to do whatever it is that I can to affirm you so that you can make your dreams come true. Or if I can remove barriers, then that's what I want to do. I see all of you here. There are people even here that are friends of mine. Sean, Mia, congratulations. And thank you so much to VCU for giving me the space and the freedom and the safety to be a gay man who was on their first panel, to being somebody who was tapped for every committee and every other speaking panel at VCU, which at the time I was a little like, about, but I mean, what an amazing opportunity that I was given just to, and how many times VCU told me that I had a voice that was valuable. I remember it was probably in 2015 that I started to dabble in art forms like drag, and that's when I discovered that maybe my gender was a little bit more expansive than I had given it credit for all these years. And I started showing up on these panels and on these committees as a gender nonconforming person. And then it was also at VCU that I was able to come out as the person that I show up as today, as Aurora. Actually, VCU was the very first full-time job that I had after I transitioned publicly. You know, the interview process, there were naysayers in the selection committee, but more than anything, there were people who refused to let me be sidestepped as a top candidate just because I showed up as a black trans femme, and they fought for me. And it was here that I was able to have my first full-time job in gainful employment as a trans person. And I can't tell you what that meant to me, what that means to me. And what I hope is that even though it might not feel like we've made huge strides in the last few years, especially the last couple of years with all of the negative legislation that's come out, I hope that you all have it abundantly easier than I did. And I know that won't be true for all of you, but I'm telling you now, if there's ever anything that I can do to remove barriers or to be that model of possibility, I am more than happy to do that for you. Because there are people in this room right now who will be in the history books, who will be loved by more people than they could have ever thought they could be loved by. The people in this room are the future, and I know how cliche that sounds. It's probably something every keynote says to every university graduation ceremony, but it really is true. And I think about this a lot when I hear people from older generations asking us why we have to be so loud. Why do we have to be so rebellious? I'm a millennial. I'm on the younger side of a millennial, or so I like to say. And I remember hearing that rhetoric about millennials, and I hear it about Gen Z people, and I'm sure we'll hear it about the next generation, Gen Alpha, I guess we'll call them, who knows. But I want you to remember something, that by virtue of just life expectancy and age and mortality, the people from the older generations will likely leave this planet before a lot of people in the younger generations do, which means that you all will be the ones who inherit the earth. You inherit society. And so I don't want anybody to make you feel like you don't have a voice in terms of what happens to our society, our government, our laws, our policies, our behaviors, our morals, our values. You stand to inherit all of it, so of course you get a voice. And if you're angry, be angry. There's so much to be angry about. There's so much to be happy about. There's so much to be joyful and blissful about, and we can feel all of those things. We can maintain all of those feelings at once. I promise you we can. So don't let anybody tell you that you, just because of your age or your lack of experience, that what you say is unrealistic. because eventually at some point you will be the oldest people on the planet here. And for whatever reason, people will look to you for guidance. And then all that rhetoric about you don't deserve a voice or you don't know what's going on, you don't get how society really works, all of that will have faded away. And it will be on you to create a more just and fairer society for the people after you. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about what it is that you hope to do after today, no matter what it is. Whether you want to go on to get another degree, whether you want to go into the workforce, whether you want to go storm the streets as an activist, you want to create your own podcast or YouTube series, do it. Because one thing that I have found, I'm 32 years old, and one thing I don't regret a lot in my life. But if I could go back and do some things over, I would start with my passions. For me, I felt like I had to start with my obligations, especially in adulthood. I thought that I needed to get a business degree, so I did. And then I worked in higher ed, so I thought I needed to get a master's in education and leadership, so I did. And I'm so glad I have those things, and now I find myself really wishing that I had gone back and gotten that art degree, or maybe gone into creative advertising or some other form of creativity, and there's still time for me. For those of you who don't know, I'm very open about the fact that I'm a burlesque performer. I actually studied burlesque for a brief time here in my PhD program at VCU. VCU was the very first place that I saw a burlesque performance, because the School of Dance invited a legendary burlesque performer, Lottie Ellington, who's now in Detroit, to come here and perform for us. And she was a black femme who got on stage and took her clothes off. And it was beautiful. It was amazing. It was powerful. And it motivated me to do things that I wanted to do but felt that they went too much against the grain, because not only is it disrespectable to take your clothes off in front of people, it was also it was also the fact that I inhabited a body that was untraditional. I inhabited a body that didn't fit the conventional framework of what burlesque even meant, as, you know, body, or as unconventional as that art form seems. There were still conventions within it, mostly cis women, mostly white women, in terms of the mainstream forms of burlesque. And it wasn't until I got on that stage and started removing my clothes and having people applaud me because I was exposing myself. I was showing people who I really was, both physically and metaphorically, and literally and metaphorically, I should say. And that's when I learned what true gender euphoria meant. Up until that point, I had only experienced dysphoria. I had only experienced what I was lacking in terms of my identity. And I show up here today still with some of that mentality of deficit and lacking, but so much more sure of what it is that I offer the world. And I want you all to figure out what it is that you can offer and that you want to offer, and that you can do so sustainably. Because one other thing I can tell you as an activist and an advocate is, even doing amazing work can be draining, and it's okay to feel drained by the work that you do, no matter how noble. You have to survive for you. And we have to create sustainable ecosystems of care and of being vocal, such that if any of us need to tap out for a little bit for a hiatus, there's someone else waiting to take it on until they get tired, and then they tap out. Someone else takes on the lead. But what's important is that no cause can live and die by you as an individual. You're not doing the world any favors by being the sole movement of a movement. You're important. Your existence is important. Your existence is absolutely important to me. There are people, every time I turn on the news, I find that there are people in my community who are gone, who are taken because of ignorance, because of fear. And I'm tired of that. I'm tired of people taking themselves out of this world. And I remember for a long time that I thought of people who took their own lives in our community as being people who were ill and just suffered from a sickness. And I also now realize today that at some point there was this recognition amongst many of those people that the society that we are currently offering was not good enough for them. And that's the real crime. We should be making society in ways such that people who are here are affirmed and don't ever have to question their validity, their value, or whether or not they're loved. And so, out of everything that I can sit here and tell you, go on, do big things, go do this, go, I don't know. I am figuring it out too, and I'm in the midst of a pivot in my life, and I think that as we move together as a society, we've found ourselves at a tipping point right now. And I'm charging all of you to push us over the edge. People, especially in older generations or people from mindsets that are more conventional, might think you're ruining society. But again, for whom? It's your society. And again, you stand to inherit all of it. So you better damn sure make sure that it is a society worth keeping and holding on to. As I said before, there are a lot of people who could not make it here today. And one of the things that I want to make sure that I do is speak truth in general, but also say the names of the people who were taken from us this year. And before I close out, I just want to say a few names. But before I even do that, I want to remind you to find community, band together, bust shit open, make things hard for the people who make society only available and affirming for the few. Make it hard for them and make it beautiful for us. So the names that I'm going to speak are the people in the trans community that we've lost. This one's really close to my heart because this person was somebody I looked up to. I'm on the board of the Appalachian Queer Film Festival, and this year we wanted to show, or will show, Kokomo City, a beautiful, beautiful documentary about Black trans sex workers in the United States. And one of the bright voices, Coco, was recently murdered in Atlanta about a week after another Black trans woman named Ashley Burton. Coco Didal was on this documentary, and I just remember looking up at her, and I remember thinking how beautiful she is and how courageous and fierce she is. And that was the person that I want to be. And then not even a month later, she was taken. And there's something, I don't know, that you never know. That feeling is so weird when your model of possibility meets a tragic end. Because what does that mean for me? What do I have to look forward to? And I don't know, but I know that I'm here now, just like you all are. And I know that I'm going to make it my mission to make society more just and also make it less safe for those who want to make it unjust, or at least feel less affirming for those who want to make it unjust. Coco Didal, Ashley Burton, Tasia Woodland, Tortuguita, Shashay Henderson, Maria Jose Rivera, Zake Iminitwitahu, Unique Banks, Casey Johnson, and Jasmine Starr Mack. These are just the names that we know. There are so many voices out there who've been cut short that we'll never know existed or were taken from us too soon. And so as we think about these names, I want you to think about the names that we can't say or we don't know to say. I don't want to end on a negative note. And so what I'll say here today is that I'm so proud of all of you. And I guess the less condescending way to say that is I'm so impressed by you, because I know that even though I've experienced my fair share of hurdles, there are people in this room, at this institution, who have experienced things that I'll never be able to imagine. And yet we're still all here. I'm so impressed by you. I'm so amazed by all of you. Go out there and show them who you are. Make no apologies. And have a beautiful life, whatever that means for you. Care for people and be cared for by people. Thank you so much, graduates of 2023, Lavender grad. And if you see me out here in the streets, please know that I am family to you. Even if we've never met, we're just like those cousins at those family reunions that you never met. Third cousins twice removed. I mean, it is Richmond, we probably are. And just know that I care for you, even though I may not know who you are yet. You're important to me. And if that matters, then I'm happy to say it as many times as you need to hear it. Congratulations, graduates.